I'm going to call to order the July 17th, 2025 work session meeting. It is now 12:02. May I have a motion to approve the June 12th, 2025 work session minutes? And a second. And if there's no discussion, everybody please vote. All right, the minutes have been approved. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Ms. Rhonda Allen.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. I'd like to give a brief report or update on the special events that we've had for over the last 30 days and just let you know how things went for us. It's been a busy summer. We've supported 3 large-scale events over the past 30 days. And as usual for large-scale events, we place additional trains into service, before and after the events. That includes shuttle trains before the event. But we always, know that we have to stay nimble to, adjust to the volume and the crowd sizes. And that's what we did for all of these events. And we really had strong service between, for the Club World Cup games between the June 16th and July 5th, the Peachtree Road Race on July 4th, and the 4 Beyonce concerts this past week. We did experience 2 significant operational issues on the morning of the 4th and also Monday night after the Beyonce concert, and I'll talk more about those in a minute. But just want to make sure that we note that during these events there were no crimes that were reported associated with these events. So we had a really secure system thanks to our MPD and others out on the system. And we also provided service for 74 other events during this time period. So we talk about the big 3, but there were lots of events that we supported during this time. So now I'd like to speak to those 3 events, the successes that we experienced, and then the challenges associated with those as well. For Club World Cup, we had close to 98,000 rail trips that were taken over those 6 matches. That included, again, the inserting of shuttle trains between 5 Points and SEC District Station prior to the event. We added additional trains after each match. The number of trains added really varied based on the time, the day of service, and the volume that we saw there. And those additional trains, they were from the single digits needed to upwards of 16 additional trains to support those matches. And we cleared those sometimes within 30, 39, 40 minutes, and then upwards, depending on the crowd size and day, a little bit about an hour and a half. And so that's really where FIFA would like us to be when they come here. And so we're very proud of the work that we could do there. We had over 550 transit ambassadors that helped to fill some of those slots and help us to help operations with those matches. That was about 85% of what we really wanted to have there, that number of staffing. And so, we've got some thoughts on how we can improve that and strengthen that in the future. But overall, to call this kind of a dress rehearsal for World Cup next year and, sporting events, I think we confirmed some of the things that we already knew that, were going to happen and we need. And so we're going to continue again to work with the Atlanta Host Committee and FIFA, and we'll be ready there for that. The Peachtree Road Race, we had 55,000 trips for Peachtree Road Race on July 4th, and that's pretty much the same as we had last year. So not a huge increase, actually just a little bit under what we had last year for Peachtree Road Race. We used our standard service model on that day, which meant that we began rail service at 4 a.m. We added extra service between a shuttle train between Lenox and Lindbergh Station around 5 a.m. And increased our service on the North Line from 17 to 21 trains to that morning. We had 97% of the ambassadors that we expected that we needed there on that day, so that was good as well. However, we did have that delay due to a mechanical issue on a train, and that was train 406 was being inserted into revenue service. That train became disabled at the Lakewood interlocking, and effectively blocked traffic going northbound. That resulted in us needing a single track between the East Point and West End stations, and I believe that's a double block, which, again, causes extended delay on the north-south line. There were mechanics and technicians and supervisors that were immediately dispatched there to help that operator get that train going again. The incident was due to a failed, and I'm going to read this exactly as Ops gave it to me, a failed holding capacitor in the wayside hardware and a failed red signal elimination. And I'm understanding that this is actually a very rare failure. If you need more details on that, I'll be happy to have Ops come up and speak to that. But again, we were happy with the amount of staffing that we had and the plan that we had in place. But again, this rare failure did cause some concern and some impact to riders that morning. And, we apologize that they had that experience, those who were impacted during that 30-minute period. Again, this week we had 4 Beyonce concerts, Thursday night, Friday night, took a break on Saturday, and then Sunday and Monday. There were about 130,000 trips taken in comparison to when she was here 2 years ago. That was 25% higher ridership than we had 2 years ago when she was here. So we're thankful for folks taking, learning about MARTA. Maybe they took the train 2 years ago and spoke to their friends, and they came back to see us. We had an additional 10 trains running on the lines on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We extended the red line 3 of those nights all the way to the airport to support this additional service until the demand for service was cleared. And for those, we had about 200 additional staff persons out. Unfortunately, that was about half of what we really anticipated that we needed. So again, additional work that we can do there to help operations for that. What you have likely heard about most around the Beyonce concert was the incident Monday evening, where there were individuals that were injured from an escalator coming down at that station. We did have additional staff at the station, more than we would on a normal night, and to support these events. There were our station agents there to help meter. We had the load and go teams a load and go team on the platform, and of course police officers were there as well. Again, during our large events, what's normal and what we the course that we usually take is, and this is what was taken that night, we had individuals metering. Individuals are the customers into the station, right? So holding them kind of outside the fare gates to make sure that we don't overcrowd the platform or the concourse and and associated the escalators and elevators, right? This is again to prevent overcrowding, and because Vine City is a smaller station, it takes a little bit more effort to ensure that that does not happen, and we allocate the correct amount of resources there to help with that metering. But again, on Monday night, there were 11 people that were injured. One suffered a broken ankle. There were 7 individuals who were transported to the hospital with cuts and bruises. One person declined transport, and then there were 2 others that we found once they got to their destination. They didn't think that they were injured, but once they got to their destination, they did ask for additional assistance by EMS, and they were presented with help there. You asked what caused, what kind of causes, what happened. As I mentioned, we were metering as we normally do. There was someone, that started to scream outside of the station. She was startled by a bug outside, outside of the large crowd. Her reaction, or the reaction of the individuals around her, caused a panic. Not everyone knowing what was happening. The individuals kind of close to this incident, or they understood what was happening and were less alarmed, right? However, individuals who did not understand, they just heard screaming and, saw movement and, fight or flight, they began to take action themselves to remove themselves from a situation that they thought was very dangerous, right? And so that, again, individuals removed themselves on the outside. However, those who were closer on the inside, just on the inside the paid area near the escalator, also decided that they needed to move out of this space, right? And so you can imagine a group of people, kind of saying, "Hey, I want to get down. I want to get down." And so they kind of began to usher themselves down on the escalator. Our escalators, really, we ask that we use when we're metering 1 person per step. And that is not what happened, with the group of people trying to come down the escalator. The escalator was overloaded, beyond its design capacity. It began to speed up, and then and I'll say this probably was, I would estimate, 5 to 10 seconds, of this, and then the escalator stopped, as it's supposed to during an emergency. However, that certain sudden jerking is what threw people down, unfortunately, onto the platform. The escalator's been barricaded. I know that the state came out yesterday with our vertical transportation team and looked at it. We've looked at the maintenance records and, happy to report that escalator actually had been, maintenance had been performed on it as early as July 10th. That was the first date of the concerts, right? And everything had been done properly there and signed off on, and so there was, nothing wrong with the escalator, in and of itself, besides, it was overloaded, and that caused the reaction that it had. But again, if you have more technical questions, we can answer those a little later. So, happy to report that the maintenance, happens monthly on those, and again, we'll continue that. But understanding that there were individuals who were injured, I want to say that we, as an agency, are sorry that happened, to them, and really wish them a speedy recovery, on those injuries. Some may ask, okay, well, what will you do differently, right? And I've kind of mentioned that in some cases there's, we recognize that we didn't have the level of staffing that we wanted for each event. And so the C team has, spoken, and we've agreed that we're going to have a more aggressive approach to how we staff these events, right? And we're each taking the lead with our departments, and so that program again will be strengthened, and will ensure that we have enough people, or the ideal amount of people, in these places. And again, that's not the operations staff who's normally out there, but these are the folks who actually support us, that come out from administrative duties to extend themselves in these instances. And then a more targeted campaign or program around escalator metering. So again, we meter before individuals, arrive and get inside of the station, but we'll look at, how we queue, outside of stations, especially those that have a smaller footprint, such as Vine City, and being on site and making sure that we've done the best we can. And there may be cases where there's an incident that is just beyond our control. However, the more we have out there and the better we have planned for our metering and our programs, I think the better we will do and be able to ensure our customers feel safe, even if there is something that alarms them or startles them in the future. Chair.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Allen?
I have a question. When you mention increased staffing, how do you calculate what you feel would be the required staffing?
So we look at each station and where, specific locations around where people will have kind of a touch point with us, right? That's important, right? Coming into a station, at the fare vending machines, at the escalators, at the elevators, stairs, on the platform level. So we look at exactly where or what's, depending on that station, what's going on there, and we actually put pen to paper and say, this is where we want a person here, we want another person here, we think we need 2 people here. So my team kind of looks at that from the customer experience team looks at that and determines how many people we need for each event. And that's what's been going on for at least the last probably 10 years, even before the customer experience team took over that responsibility.
So do we look at the vendor or the organization and look at possibly how many tickets have been sold and anticipate?
Yes, ma'am. There's a special events meeting that's held monthly. We have members, I believe, I always get this backwards, ACVB, members of the city and others, where we have an event list with expected attendance, as well as expected ridership, when we look at past data on expected ridership. And that kind of puts us we look at that category. And I think we had a presentation from George a while back on, how do we then determine how much service we need, how many people we need, and that is what kind of kicks off when we need to bring in administrative staff for those events. So we get to around the 40,000 mark within a certain period of time, and we start to look at bringing in additional staff.
So that's how we calculated the additional, I believe you said 2,000 riders as opposed to the last concert?
We look at, our research and analysis team looks at the taps in and out, and they review that against previous data.
Thank you.
Ms. Powers?
Sure. Thanks for a thorough briefing. I understand the look back about our staff and things like that, regardless of potentially what the cause was. And I understand, there are some things we can guard against, and there are certainly things that we can't guard against. People yelling and reacting on a platform. But I appreciate, regardless of the cause, just always having a thorough review. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I don't see any other questions. Is that
Just a reminder of you have in your packets upcoming meetings, and just a reminder to look at those upcoming meetings.
okay?
Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, and for the public, the Riders Advisory Council next meets on August 6th at 6 p.m. And we will be back here. The board meeting schedule is a little different this month, so we will be back here for committee meetings a week from today at 9:30 a.m. Usually we have 2 weeks between meetings, but July schedule is a little bit different, so everybody double check that on your calendars. Thank you so much, Ms. Allen, for your report, and Mr. Hunt. Do we have matters for executive session today?
We do, Chair. We have matters in litigation and personnel.
All right. May I have a motion and a second to go into executive session? I see a motion by Powers, a second by Hartage. All in favor, please raise your hands. All right. Motion passes. We will now go into executive session. Everybody, I'm going to call to order the July 17th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting. It is now 1:43 p.m. Mr. Hunt, do we have any public comment to report via email or voicemail?
Good afternoon, Chair. We do have no voicemails. We have one email received at the MARTA board inbox, which will be distributed to all board members, and we have 4 in-person public comments as of this time.
Right. Thank you so much. We're going to now move forward with our in-person public comment. The public will not be allowed to yield or donate time to other speakers. The public comment portion of the meeting will not exceed 45 minutes. If the 45-minute time limit is reached before public comments are completed, public comments will be suspended and the board meeting will commence. Public comments will resume at the end of the board meeting. I have the green comment sheets from those who've requested to speak, and so when I call your name, feel free to come up to the podium and the microphone, and you will have 2 minutes each to speak. Our first speaker today is Miss Ida Davis.
Hi. My name is Ida Davis, and I stay at 1590 Sugardown Court. I'm 73 years old. The reason I'm here because they removed my bus stop from my subdivision. And the bus stop that I would have to go to would be down the street where the apartment's at. And I don't want to go down there with those young kids smoking, vaping, and cursing and playing loud music. I've been in my subdivision for 36 years. I'm from way back when they had Atlanta Transit System, that we had to vote MARTA in here. But y'all don't realize poor people depend on MARTA. Y'all say let MARTA do the driving. That's not doing the driving when you move my bus stop away from me, that I got to go somewhere else to catch the bus. There's plenty of buses, number 2, Ponce de Leon, and also 114 Columbus Drive and Glenwood, 107 Glenwood. They have bus stops up and down the street, and that's not a whole lot of people there. The reason for moving my bus stop, saying the survey said wasn't enough people catching a bus. But it's not enough people catching those buses either, that sometimes it's never nobody at the bus stop. Remember, these poor people, myself, we need these buses. We have to get back and forth to work, to the doctor office, and wherever else we need to go. It's not fair to us, and it's definitely not fair to us elderly people. They have to go down there and sit down there with them young people vaping and smoking, and you better not say nothing to them. So I would just like for y'all to please bring my bus stop back.
Thank you, Miss Davis. And can you tell me what number bus route that is?
32 Boulder.
32. Okay, thank you.
32 Boulder Crest.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next speaker is Miss Barbara Gordon.
Okay, my name is Barbara Gordon, and I have a complaint. 813 bus. They moved the bus stop, and they moved the bus stop, and they got these new apartments. And they removed the bus stop, but we need the shelter like. That's what we need, because we have a lot of LD in that neighborhood. You got the public, you got the college students, you got the LD, you got a combination in that zone between LaShaye, John Hope Drive, school motivated. It's just a lot going on. They moved the bus stop, like I said. They keep moving it, and they putting it further up the road. And some people's in wheelchairs, walkers, name it. You could see, because I've been calling, couldn't get no answer. And they finally put a bus stop on one side. We need the shelter. You know, the big MARTA shelter, the glass one, and that's what we need. We don't have that. You have it at the college. They done put it up the street, should have put it between LaShaye and school motivated. You know, it's just sad, you know. So that's why I'm here, to try to help the elder. I'm an elder myself. But anyway, we need the shelter, and we need the bus stop between John Hope Drive and school motivated. Cross the street and on the other side, outbound and inbound.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is David, I think it's Haskell? Hassel.
Second comment first. I want to thank you all for the new routes on the south side, mainly the 109 and the 111. The 114 is being replaced by the 111. It actually is the only time we're going to be able to get down Flat Shoals to Wesley Chapel. I don't really appreciate not being able to go to Indian Creek, having to go to Indian Creek on it, but that's the trade-off. The main reason I'm here is TransDev again. It's not my first time talking to a lot of you all about TransDev. They're getting worse. On Monday, July 7th, I had a scheduled pickup between 7 and 7:30. At 7:15, it showed the website showed a 7:25 pickup with an 8 o'clock drop-off at Emory University Hospital. By the time I got down one floor and was outside, it showed a 9 o'clock pickup instead of a 7:30 pickup, with me not being dropped off till well after 10 o'clock. When the bus finally got there, she told me, oh, this was an add-on. We're going from here to East Point. I'm at Columbia Drive in Flat Shoals. We're picking up 3 separate stops in East Point. All 3 of them are going to Emory Midtown before I take you to Emory University. I think you can understand what the problem is there. The next day that I had trips, everything was fine on the trip there. The trip on returning, they were only 45 minutes late picking me up with frozen fruit at Kroger and leaving me on the bus over an hour to get from North Decatur Road and DeKalb Industrial back down to Flat Shoals Parkway and Columbia Drive. And talking to TransDev does not do any good. If you can't bring the entire mobility back in-house, get the dispatch and booking system back, because they will not take any input.
Thank you so much. Now we have Mr. David Ward.
Good afternoon to the MARTA board. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of ATU Local 732. First, I would like to say thank you for those words. I didn't have a pre-planned conversation with them or anything like that, but I've always said mobility should be brought back in-house, should have never left. I want to start by saying I stand here before you today to talk about the next upcoming negotiations. ATU, we humbly ask that we proceed through this process with all fairness and recognition to the men and women that perform safe and reliable service to MARTA on a daily basis. These are the same individuals that performed or provided service during the '96 Olympics. These were the same workers that when COVID-19 shut down nearly every other industry, MARTA stayed open, we stayed working. We're frontline employees, and we're proud of that. We wouldn't change it for any other job in the world. But once again, as we embark on these contract negotiations, we ask that it be performed with transparency, with integrity by both parties. We have to tackle and address fair and equitable wages for these workers. We have to tackle mental health awareness for these workers. We have to tackle the aspect of safety and working conditions. Once again, these are the men and women that perform professional and courageous work every day. They get spit on and called all kind of different obscenities, but they get up the next morning and they report back to work. So I ask that we recognize them in a spirit of altruism, that we keep in respect that these things need to be done, and we come once again in good faith with an olive branch to make sure we get these things accomplished. Just a good negotiation. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do want to thank our writers for coming today to make public comment in areas that we can improve our service. I know it's takes a lot of energy to get down here and speak to us in public, but it's meaningful to us, and our operations people are listening, and we'll look into your to look into the concerns that you have raised. That concludes the end of our public comment session. Can I have a motion to approve the June 12th, 2025 board meeting minutes, please? And a second. And if there is no discussion, please vote. All right, the minutes have been approved. We're going to move into our board committee reports, starting with business management with Mr. Pond.
Madam Chair, the Business Management Committee met on Thursday, June 26, 2025, and approved the following resolutions. I am going to, when I go through the resolutions, pull out item F and let the board hear that separately. It needs to be addressed separately. So I request approval of these resolutions. A, resolution approving the award of a contract for personal computing and mobile equipment and support services for bid B50627A. Resolution B, authorizing the award of a contract for endpoint management platform IFB B50666. Resolution C, authorizing the resolution of bids received for storage expansion and upgrades. That would be IFB B50632. Resolution D, authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of drug alcohol software, RFP P50717. Resolution E, authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of leave administrative services, RFP P50720. And resolution number G, resolution authorizing the modification of contractual authorization for professional services for internal audit, automation tool, LOA L46790. I request approval of these resolutions.
All right, let's vote on these 6 resolutions, and then we'll come back to F.
Did we get a second?
Oh. We had Ms. Hardage. You moved, okay. All right, then we have Mr. Worthy, seconded. Yep. All right, those 6 items have passed.
I request approval of resolution authorizing the award of a contract for station digital signage for the Transit Rider Information and Passenger Signage Program, RFP P50559. I would turn that over to Mr. Hunt to cover.
Well, should we get it on the table first?
Yes, so,
I'll move approval of that resolution.
okay, and can we get a second? Okay, Ms. Hardage and then Mr. Hunt. So it's before us.
Yes. Board, in the intervening period between the committee and the board meeting, MARTA received a protest to this procurement from Global Display Solutions. Ultimately, the staff determined that in association with executive leadership that the protest was, one, not timely and not procedurally compliant, but we also looked at the merits of the protest and did a full legal and factual review of the same. But we wanted to disclose that to the board before you voted on the item, in case the board wanted to come to some different determination on your vote.
All right. Do we have any discussion or questions for Mr. Hunt? If not, then let's vote. Oh, yes. Yes, vote by hand. No. Okay.
When you pull it out, I don't believe it stays loaded, so
Well-
you do need your, yeah.
Yeah, I think Kenya reloaded it. Yeah. All right, item F passes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pond. We'll move next to planning and capital programs. Mr. Zagabe.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, the Planning and Capital Program Committee met on Thursday, June 26, 2025, and approved 10 resolutions. 8 of those I'm going to read through, and there are 2 that I'm going to pull out. So I'll pull out G and H, and we'll come back to those. So A, resolution authorizing real estate the use of appraisal and non-appraisal professional services firms, P5047-3. B, resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of TOD project Lindbergh Center, RFP P5071-4. C, resolutions authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of transit-oriented development project Oakland / Lakewood, Fort McPherson, RFP P5072-2. D, resolutions authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of TOD project Kensington Station Phase 1, RFP P5073-2. E, resolutions authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of TOD project Hamilton E. Homes, RFP P5072-3. F, resolution authorizing the award of a single source contract for next-gen bus network redesign infrastructure, bus transit stations, and bus stop amenities, RFP PP 50728. Resolution I, authorizing a modification and contractual authorization for AFC 2.0. And finally, Resolution J, authorizing award of an agreement to partner with the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District to renovate the Broad Street Plaza at Garnett Station. I request approval for these resolutions.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion and a second on these 8 items? All right, it's moved by Hardage, seconded by Powers. If there's no discussion, everybody please vote. All right, those items pass. Move on to the next 2.
Okay, perfect. So, Madam Chair, I request approval for the resolution labeled G, authorizing contract award of a single source contract for next-gen bus network redesign infrastructure materials purchase, RFP PP 50727, and Resolution H, authorizing the award of a single source contract for next-gen bus network redesign infrastructure, bus stop changes, RFP PP 50736. I request approval of these resolutions.
All right, can we get a motion and a second to get these on the table? Oh, Mr. Pond. Yeah, we can do it online. And Mr. Zagabe,
Yeah,
do we need to hear from legal on these?
Yeah,
or
I would pass it to Ms. To Paul
Mr.
Lopes,
yeah.
to please
Okay.
speak to a little bit of the color here.
All right.
Afternoon. With regards to the 2 items in question, for the first item, the authorization was submitted to the board ahead of the audit being completed. Audit was completed. There's an unsubstantiated variance of about $12,000, or sorry, $21,000. Upon further review, given the reallocation of the work done by the contractor in order to prioritize the next bus, the bus network redesign requirements, they had indicated there would be an additional cost. We've taken a look at that review. We were trying to ensure that the cost remained reasonable. The variance represents 0.27% variance from the overall contract. Therefore, we feel it's a reasonable variation, unjustified, in order to proceed. For the second one, there was an audit done. We've taken a look at the material costs, the labor costs, and the initial assessment, there was a miscommunication. The contractor had indicated they had a 30% profit. That is not the case. They have a 30% margin. The margin is there in order to ensure that contingencies have been put in place to take care of overhead and, of course, a component of profit. That occurred because, again, we had asked them to prioritize our work ahead of contracts they had already had in place with other customers in order to ensure that all of the information and material for the bus network redesign was available and redeployed and installed before year end.
Thank you for that color, and appreciate all the work on these two very important pieces as we get the bus network redesigned.
Are there any questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much. Let's
Thank
please vote. All right, those two items have passed.
Thank you. The committee also received the following briefing. K, Station Rehabilitation, Garnett Station. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you so much. And Operations and Safety with Mr. Worthy.
Madam Chair, the Operations and Safety Committee met on Thursday, June 26, 2025, and approved the following resolutions. A, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for Authority Ride Landscaping Services, IFB B50591. B, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for ultra-low sulfur clear diesel and unleaded gasoline blended with 10% ethanol, IFB B50588. C, resolution authorizing the modification and contractual authorization for vehicle towing services, IFB B50087. And D, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for demand response transit software and equipment, RFP P50482. I respectfully request approval of these resolutions.
Thank you. May we get a motion and a second? And if there's no discussion, please vote. All right, those items have passed.
Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Worthy. We do have a resolution to be presented by Ms. Boyd.
Good afternoon, Chair Ide, Chief Allen, and members of the board. This is a resolution authorizing the execution of a license agreement with Selig Enterprises, Inc. for a crane swing in support of the 5 Points Station transformation in the city of Atlanta, Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia. This is the design drawing of the crane swing, but if you go to the next screen, this is, it shows that the crane will go over 4 locations. One is the Federal Center, which they are going to give us a license at no charge. The two are the City of Atlanta and ATL DOT, who will also give us licenses at no charge. And then Selig, as a private entity, there will be a fee that we have to pay. So this one tells you the property that's involved is 2,698 square feet. The appraised value for that crane swing is $336,913 for a 4.5-year license agreement. There's no acquisition being made, so no federal interest. And we already have an easement between Seelig and MARTA, and that grants Seelig access to the northeast side of the station for their tenants and patrons, and that will not be affected by this. So again, requesting resolution authorizing the execution of a license agreement with Seelig Enterprises, Inc. for crane swing in support of the 5-point station transformation, City of Atlanta, Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if I can get a motion and a second. All right, it's before us. Does anybody have any questions?
I did not mean to hit against.
Okay.
I was trying to hit second if somebody could
All right.
hit my against.
Mr. Dirt?
Robin, is this the sort of thing that should have been contemplated beforehand, or was it contemplated, but we just had to go through the process of understanding what the compensation ought to be?
It was contemplated. We had to do the appraisal and the review appraisal, and the appraisal came in higher than we thought because of the 4.5 years, because the crane will be able to be used for that long if necessary.
All right, thank you.
All right. If there are no other questions, everybody please vote. All right, this item has passed. Thank you, Ms. Boyd. Mr. Hunt, I understand we have four items?
Yeah, we have a few items
Okay.
that I'll need the board's motion and act on. The first few will be litigation items. I need a motion to approve a settlement in the amount of $400,000 in the Shanice Ewing v. MARTA lawsuit.
Everybody please vote. All right, that item passes.
I would need an additional motion to move to approve a settlement in the amount of $300,000 in the Jenny Harris Gardner v. MARTA lawsuit.
All right, everybody please vote.
Could I get a motion to move to approve a settlement in the amount of $215,000 in the workers' compensation claim of Joycelyn Mahone?
All right, that was Durrett and Hartage. Again, everybody please vote.
I have 3 additional resolutions, Chair. Oh,
One
sorry.
second, let me just make sure we got the
I'm
count.
sorry.
Let's everybody raise your hand one more time so we can get the, okay.
My apologies, Ms. Huff.
You're moving too fast, Mr. Hunt.
Sorry. This next item is a resolution authorizing the separation of service of Collie Greenwood as General Manager and CEO. If I may read that in.
Yes, please.
Okay. Whereas Collie Greenwood has served the authority as General Manager and CEO since 2022, and whereas Collie Greenwood in its capacity has served the authority with distinction and moved the authority forward in its endeavors, including, among other successes, leading MARTA to being named the American Public Transit Association Transit Agency of the Year in 2024, and achieving a triple-A bond rating in very challenging fiscal and inflationary times. Whereas Collie Greenwood, due to immigration and personal matters, has elected to leave his employment and elect early retirement as the authority's General Manager and CEO, and whereas the Board of Directors have mutually agreed to a separation from MARTA, be it resolved, therefore, by the Board of Directors of the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority, that pursuant to Mr. Greenwood's employment agreement and the mutual agreement of the parties, that the Board of Directors terminate such employment agreement and compensate the balance and pay the balance of Mr. Greenwood's contract term and severance set forth in the employment agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. And I know people will have comments and discussion, but if we can get a motion and a second. Okay, Mr. Durrett, Ms. Hartage, so it is before us on the floor. And if anybody who has a question or a comment, please hit your button. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Greenwood, who was not able to be with us today because of his immigration status, but he has served MARTA tremendously in his role as general manager. As the resolution states, he got us through some difficult times at the end of COVID and the transition from losing our previous general manager very unexpectedly, and is leaving us in tremendously good stead financially. The status of our projects as we are coming, the world is coming to Atlanta for FIFA, and it is very unfortunate that immigration is a very complicated issue in the United States today. But Mr. Greenwood needed to make the decision that was best for him and his family, and his MARTA family will miss him tremendously.
I just wanted to say that it has been a pleasure to work with Kali as a board member, and I'm disappointed that it's come to this, but I wish him and his family the very best as they sort through all of this, and we will miss him.
Ms. Powers?
I think Kali's achievements, I echo everyone's statements, are probably too numerous to list today, other than if you've ever been outside of the walls of MARTA, you understand how well respected he is in this industry, and what a great job he has done, both leading the authority, providing guidance to this board, and serving through difficult, unforeseen times. But I understand that family comes first, and so I certainly respect that decision, but it is a sad day for this board and for this authority.
Mr. Frierson?
Yes, I want to say that the time that I have been here on the board has been truly an honor to work with Kali, as he's has had a steady hand in making MARTA the transit agency that it is today, and helping it be prepared for his future. I am also saddened of him leaving the enterprise. I understand these things happen. We have tried to work through it, and it just wasn't possible, but we will miss his leadership. I will miss the friendship that we've had, and then most of all, we will miss his visionary commitment to making this MARTA transit the best that it can be across this world.
All right, if we can take a vote on the resolution, please. All right, this item passes.
Chair, I have two other resolutions. This next resolution, I need a motion for the board to approve Chief Customer Experience Officer Rhonda Allen to be named as Acting General Manager and CEO of MARTA until such time as the Board of Directors selects an interim General Manager and CEO.
All right, I heard a motion from Ms. Jones and a second from Mr. Durrett. And if there's no discussion, can we please vote by hand? Yes. So the motion passes, and I'm going to hand the mic to Ms. Allen for a second.
Thank you. I first want to echo the sentiments that that the board has shared regarding Mr. Greenwood and his leadership on behalf of the C team. We appreciate the leadership that he that he provided, and especially during a difficult transition that we had here. And we wish him the best. And just to state that I'm excited to steady the reins, or hold the reins and steady the ship until such time that the board votes on a permanent GM and CEO. Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Allen, for being willing to step up and support the board and the entire system during this time. Mr. Hunt?
Chair, I have one more motion. I promise, just one more. we'll need a motion for the chair to create an ad hoc general manager and CEO search committee to be comprised of members from each jurisdiction.
All right, I will make that motion. All right. I saw Mr. Pond's hands first this time. You're speedy. No, no. Well, you all arm wrestle over it. All right. All in favor? All right. And I will do that expeditiously and be in touch with members about your service. Are there any other questions, comments from the board? Mr. Durrett.
Jennifer, I want to express my appreciation for your father's life, which was integral to the establishment of MARTA, and acknowledge your loss. So I wanted to make sure that we did that today.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for everybody who's reached out to me. For people who didn't know, my dad was a member of the group of young civic leaders who were they were very young. They were in their 30s and 40s when this crazy idea of having a MARTA system came to Atlanta, and he was a lawyer and was saying it was making me feel a little inadequate that when I was writing his obituary, he was only 31 years old when he argued in front of the Georgia Supreme Court for the creation of the system. So it was a big part of my childhood. We actually had a picture of a MARTA bus on our living room wall, which I think there was an argument between my mom and dad of whether that was an appropriate place for a picture of a MARTA bus, but there it hung for my whole childhood. So it has been such an honor to have shared this family legacy with my dad. He was so proud for my service on this board, and I appreciate everybody's kind words. Thank you. And if that is it, then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
I know. Yeah, I talked to him. Yeah, good people.